everybody. Welcome back to the Tuned and Strong podcast. This is Dr. Jen Cabas of Tuned and Toned Performance.
And this is Angela McHouston of Music Strong.
For those who are not watching,
Yeah.
I'm wearing a beanie. Merch. I got merch. Brand awareness right here.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I sound better this time because I have a swanky new wireless microphone. So hopefully this sounds good. Please let us know if it doesn't. And please let us know if it does.
Yes. Yeah.
And Jen also has.
We both upgraded microphones, headsets. Well, my headset. So do let us know how the sound quality is.
Yes, please.
All right. So last time we talked about some stuff that you heard on the Things Musicians Don't Talk About podcast during their Injury Awareness Week.
Their Musicians Injury Awareness Week. And again, if you guys have not gone back to listen to that, please go listen to that. They're maybe 20 minutes each tops. There's stories from all over the globe from musicians dealing with all kinds of different things. And this stemmed out of a couple different people. I don't remember if it was everybody, but there was kind of this pervasive theme through all of these stories that musicians were telling about how they got injured and what they felt about it, or what they were told to feel. But it was, how do I say that?
Just kind of this stigma, right?
Yeah.
So a mix of the stigma and
the expectations.
Yeah. So I know last time we talked about the
falling behind,
getting behind, and how much that affects most people with injuries in our field anyhow. And I know we said that one of the contributing factors to that, and something that you saw in those podcasts too, was this concept of blame, shame, and ignoring pain.
It just conveniently rhymed.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think we teased about it in the last episode too, that we were going to talk about how those two relate a little bit, but that's going to be our focus for today. So.
Yeah. So we talked about, feeling like you have to take every gig or else you're going to get behind. Mm-hmm. That's what we were covering last week. And that really segues well into this week because they're really well connected. So as musicians, we feel really pressured with good reason to take every gig that we are offered, whether we want to do it or not, whether we really have the time or not, whether we're physically able to or not. And sometimes, like you really just want to take all these gigs. You're all excited. The money's good, or the opportunity's good, but sometimes things in life just are not there. And maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should say no to that. Sometimes it has to do with you have a playing related injury and you should say no to that. Sometimes, so I'm thinking of, oh my gosh, there's so many types of musicians. I'm thinking of the musicians here in Nashville right now. And some in particular, I'm thinking of if you ever come to Nashville, the main drag with the honky tonks, which are not like real anymore. But anyway, so the main drag is called Broadway, right? And there's Broadway and 2nd Avenue. There's all these music venues and they play all day, all night, tons of live musicians, and they're booked 7 days a week with musicians for hours and hours and hours. The thing is, it's kind of like that area. You play, a standard set is 4 hours. And I think you get one break, maybe 2. I could be wrong, but I think it's no more than 2. Yeah. And we're talking like a few minutes, 10 minutes, maybe tops. That's it. Over 4 hours.
Some water, you're done.
Yeah, basically. Or, the people at the bar buy you a shot. Basically, it's probably how it goes because these are all bars. So these musicians are playing for 4 hours, and I've talked to a couple more. It's not uncommon to pull a double. You walk down the street, go to the next place, play another 4 hours. That's 8 hours of playing. Solid. Maybe you get dinner in between. It's not uncommon to pull a triple and do 12 hours of playing solid and do it again the next day. Because the thing is, guys, most of these people are not playing for money. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they play for tips, which is another conversation for another day.
Yeah, let's not unpack that today.
I'm not going to unpack that today. But the thing is, these musicians, if they're playing for tips, the longer you play, the more tips you get. There's this whole thing behind it. And also, a lot of these musicians are so crazy talented. It's not uncommon for them to play at the Grand Ole Opry or to be on tour with some big megastar or less of a star, or just be on tour and like land a really great gig. But when the gig is over, when the tour is over, even if it's a world tour or a whatever, maybe it's a couple of weeks, maybe it's a few months, maybe it's half a year. But when it's over, some of them play in the studio and they play sessions, and that's a whole other ball game of stress. And, you really don't want to say no to those because only a few people get those gigs and blah, blah. But these touring musicians, a lot of times, if they're not in the studio or they don't have anything lined up, they just go back to Broadway until they land the next one. Mm-hmm. And the cycle continues. So there's no downtime, right? There's no break, literally, and some of these musicians I'm thinking of too, in particular, one with a shoulder issues, like shooting pains down the shoulder, can't play unless they're in pain. This guy was in pain constantly. Another guy, massive back pain. I think I mentioned this in another episode, but I don't remember which one it was. Boundaries, maybe. When we get to the point where we think it's natural to pop painkillers and wash it down with whiskey, we got issues, guys. It's not okay. But I literally saw this happen to this person. And people are like, yeah, I get it. Like, no, you shouldn't have to get it. That's not okay.
Right. If you're at the point where meds for an issue with your playing are normal, you're exactly the kind of people that we are talking about this time around. Because it's usually not just like that. I would call that ignoring, right?
Yeah.
In a way, like, yes, you're acknowledging it's there because you're taking the meds, but it's clearly not a big enough deal to do something about, at least not yet.
Right. So we ignore the pain.
Tied into the first two, which are blame and shame.
Right. So we're ignoring that the pain just to make it through the gig. Mm-hmm. But then we got to make it through the next gig. And the thing is, how many times have we heard, well, I just don't have time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody has time. You have to make time before your body breaks, or else your body will make time for you. And then you're out a lot of money. Then you can't say yes to any gigs.
Yes.
And then you do fall behind. And then, so it's like, okay, are we going to be proactive and take care of this? Or are we just going to wait and hope and pray? Mm-hmm. No. You can only ride a roller coaster with that hasn't been maintained for so long until it fails.
Right. So a lot of this, I feel like we're at a point where I can jump here. So you tell me if I'm not making sense, because I'm a little out of it today. But I feel like so much of that whole, like, let's not talk about it, comes from that shame factor, right? Of, well, I can't talk about this because it's not normal. And people will stop trusting me, and I'll never work, which we talked about before. That's all shame talk. When you're starting to hide it, that's all shame talk. And if that's something that you're really concerned about, is getting a bad reputation in the field, or I'm going to just say from firsthand accounts, if you've got that shame issue, you want to deal with it now. You want to deal with it before you can't play anymore. Because if you're embarrassed now that you've got a problem, wait until you've got no ability to play until you get fixed. Mm-hmm. People start asking you, well, can you, like, how much can you play now? Like, are you able to actually make it through the gig? Is this too much? Like, when was the last time you were hurt? You're going to be talking about it a lot if you get to the point where you have to take significant time off. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get real comfortable with yourself.
Yeah, because then you get labeled as that musician who got hurt or is hurt, or will they be hurt again? Because, well, you've been hurt once. Maybe now you're prone to it.
Right. Well, first off, we're all prone to it. Okay.
Yes.
Anybody who says differently is lying.
Yeah.
Or doesn't have very good connection to their own body.
Mm-hmm.
One or the other. Because usually that comes with, there's this thing that flares up every once in a while, but that's not an injury. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It's exactly what that is. Things don't just flare up.
Or, well, I feel fine, but this isn't working anymore. That qualifies. It doesn't have to be pain to be an injury. If it's something affecting your, anyway, I'm tangenting too far here. Anyhow, so yeah, instead of trying to hide it or ignore it or some combination of the two, I mean, do something about it.
Right. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I was told you got to take every gig, say yes to everything.
Yes.
My gosh, how many times was I told say yes to everything? You too, right?
Say yes to, I still hear it. Say yes to everything all the
Say
time.
yes to everything. Yes. Heck, I think I said it to somebody. I think I said it to my student the other day, but like she was clueless. And as soon as I said it, I was like, oh,
yeah.
You know, and then I was like, I got to go back and preface this with, here's what I mean by that. So, yes. I mean, I was telling her, you need to say yes to any chance you get because you haven't had any opportunities to play besides out of school. You don't know. So it's like, hey, maybe you should come with me and shadow me on a gig. You remember the days of apprenticeships?
Right.
Maybe, maybe you should come with me on a gig. See what this is like. You don't want to just depend on YouTube and your schooling to understand what it's like and then get a paying gig and have no clue. So, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing of taking an audition for experience, which I don't even want to get into. But I mean, yeah, you do need that experience to know what to experience.
Right.
But if you get to the point where you're feeling like I have to say yes to this gig because I have to have the money.
Right.
But I hurt, but I have to, but I have to.
No, you don't. No. And even if you're not at that point, if you're still in school and you're going, well, I hurt, but I can't say no. Yes, you can. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, if you're in school and something hurts, this is the time to speak up. Please do.
Yeah. If you're feeling something or if something isn't working, take care of it now.
And I feel like that's where the shame starts, though. The shaming and the blaming starts if you're in school. And when I say school, I don't mean middle school. We're talking college here. So if you're in school for music, you're expected to play at this high level. And there's something really great about that. But at the same time, you're expected to be on. You're expected to be, it's kind of like we're expected to be superhuman. I mean, you're not really allowed to make mistakes. You are, but you're not. And then if you hurt, well, how many times have you heard this? Oh, you must not be very good. You're just not practicing hard enough. You're not practicing long enough. You're just doing it wrong. You shouldn't hurt. What's wrong with you? Shouldn't you know better? Oh my gosh, how many times have we heard all of those things, which are ludicrous?
Fortunately, not me. It was just, well, you need to do something about it. Followed by loss of trust once I had to take the time off. Didn't matter how much I was actually doing about it. No, you need to do something about it. Okay, what? Right.
Yeah, but what's that something?
Right. But I mean, it's a good thing we have two very different sets of things here. Cause you might run into one, you might run into the other, you might run into both or neither, Yeah.
I have heard all of those things, not to me specifically, but I've heard them from other people that I know, other musicians that I know. One of my brand ambassadors plays viola. She's a very small, petite woman, and viola is a big instrument. The story basically is that her family bought her this viola that was really, really nice. But apparently strings, they come in different sizes, right?
Yep.
Even at the professional level, which I didn't know. I'm a flute player. So her family bought her this really nice viola. And so she was expected to play it, obviously. But things started to hurt. And they couldn't figure out why. And her teacher just said, well, you must not be very good.
Yeah.
This is like 5 years ago. This is not a long time ago. You must need to practice more. You're just not practicing hard enough. You've got to practice more. And she finally got in so much pain, she couldn't play anymore. And I don't remember all the ins and outs, but it turns out the viola was too big for her. She finally said, Dad, I love you. Thank you for this. I can't play it. It doesn't fit my body. Right. We try so hard to make the instrument fit us. Or I'm sorry, make ourselves fit the instrument. No, you have to get the instrument that fits you.
Yeah. Yep.
So she switched instruments and now she's fine.
Yeah.
Not very good. Got to practice. No, absolutely not. But that's where that shame comes from. That's right there. That's just blaming. That's blaming you for your pain.
Right. Yeah, and you can be blamed for your issues, and you can blame yourself, and those are different things, and that's related,
Yeah.
but not necessarily the same thing as shame. I have a tendency to get too technical, so we won't go down too far. But I mean, it's different aspects of this stuff, right? So somebody else can say, "Oh, well, it's your fault. You're clearly not doing something right." And like, okay, well, if that hurts you, if you hear that and that actually affects you, the number one question that you should be either asking that person or thinking about is, okay, what would you do in my position? If they don't have an answer, that's not somebody that you need an opinion from.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
That's just useless blame. That doesn't help.
It is. And usually that stems from they have an issue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it just gets you nowhere to be blamed or to blame yourself. Because if you are doing something wrong, well, then either somebody else should be catching it.
Right. Especially if you're in school.
Right. You can't know what you don't know. You know?
Right? Or if you're a professional. I mean, we've got to stop breaking this. We've got to stop the stigma that we can't talk about being injured, because if you've heard the things musicians don't talk about Injury Awareness Week, these stories all kind of sound the same, where it's like, I couldn't talk about it. I just had to push through. And then I got really hurt. And then I had to take 2 months off, 6 months off, 2 years off. I had to quit my career. I mean, these are not isolated incidents. This is 90% of musicians will have some kind of playing related pain or injury. What we choose to do about it or not do about it is what makes or breaks your actual career. So you're not less of a person. You're not less of a musician. And something I was just talking with Anna Ditari the other day, who we had on for the focal dystonia conversation. And something that she said was that no matter what, even though you've got this overuse injury of the brain and things are not working the way they should, something to remember is you're not less of a musician. You are just as much of a musician as you ever were. All the things you learned are still there. You still retain those. You still have the ability. Now you just have to go at it at a different way, but it's all still there. And you are still very much a musician. And we talked about that in defining your worth as a musician with Veronica.
Right.
You remember what she said about, she was just listening on the radio and I think we were cricket players and, this cricket player had this injury. And she's like, I can't believe so they just say it?
Yeah. Like it's normal.
Like it is.
Yes. And we have talked about this. I don't want to say ad nauseum, but we're getting dang close. You know what I mean? I know,
but it's so hard not to keep bringing it up because it's still a thing.
I know. And because it's not really, I don't see it resonating yet within the community. The fact that we are injured is just now starting to be accepted. Starting. It's really not. And there's very much in a lot of people, not all, certainly not all, but in a lot of people, there's an era of, well, if you have these issues, these are the ways to handle it. And that's it. Like, if we're just
so many ways
about it, then how would we know that those are the only ways?
Right.
We don't.
Because that comes at it from a mindset of ignorance. Not stupidity, ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. And if we don't talk about it, there's a whole lot more we don't know. And I also think some of that kind of comes from fear.
It absolutely does. That's what I was going to say.
The two together.
Absolutely does. Because you're afraid of trying something that is outside of what you think is safe.
Oh, and it, quote, hasn't been proven. I'm sorry, placebo pills sometimes work and they're not proven either. But, I mean, there are so many things that work differently for so many different people. And you have absolutely every right to go explore something that resonates with you. Yes. Do you love acupuncture? Do you love yoga? Yeah. Have you ever tried Rolfing or NKT or chiropractic care or aromatherapy or reflexology or massage? Name it. I don't care how craniosacral therapy. I don't care how out there it is. I have clients from across the board who swear by different things. And guess what? Like my dad is like, turmeric, fix my knee. CBD, fix my ankle. Cool. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
there's validity there.
Right. And those have, if you look at it again you can look these studies up. Just because people don't want you to talk about them doesn't mean you can't go find them. They're out there. It's public knowledge. Those have healing properties. Because I know somebody's going to be like, oh, turmeric healed and really? Yes, it's an anti-inflammatory.
Yep.
It depends on your system, much in the same way that if I'm really, really, this may be TMI section, I don't care, we're going there. If I have an upset stomach, is Pepto-Bismol probably going to calm me down so I can take care of the immediate symptoms? Yes. If it's food poisoning, is the Pepto going to kill the issue? Not in my system, not in mine. Not in mine. I've had issues with this before. It's actually, I'm being, quote, punished for having too clean of a system. I'm pretty sensitive, but it's fine.
Oh.
But what works for me when I get food poisoning is garlic.
Yeah.
It has to be garlic. It must be garlic. That is the only thing. And I'll smell a little funky for like a week, but I am functional, But that's not the same for my husband. The garlic helps, but it's not his thing. Is oregano oil.
I know some people who swear by colloidal silver.
Yeah. But I can't take the oregano and have the same effect, and he can't take the garlic and have the same. But our systems are I am a woman who is about 100 pounds lighter than my husband.
Yeah.
And my family comes from very different area of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're not going to respond the same.
No.
No. Of course not. My body was built very differently, and that's fine. So
they say there's more than one way to skin a cat, which we're both cat people. So I hate that.
Right.
But there's just so many different ways to go about look, nobody knows your body better than you. And we've heard that a million times too, but let's put this in, put it in perspective, right? Only you know what you are dealing with and can describe it in a way that makes sense to you when you have some kind of pain-related something, whether it's an ache, it's a sharp thing, it hurts exactly here. Whether when you say it, it makes sense to other people or not, you understand uniquely what's going on. And I bet if you start looking around for options, something's going to resonate with you. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Some modality is going to hit you and you're going to be like, I wonder if that would. And if that's not on the quote approved list, and I don't even want to, you know what I mean? There's only a couple things that are quote approved in music schools. But I mean, if it's not on the approved list, my gosh, go try. There's a reason it resonated with you.
Right. And that doesn't mean to try things that you're like, well, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but you can still go try that. And same thing is, there's not an issue with taking advice from a friend or an advisor who's like, hey, your dad, hey, my knee was really messed up and I took this turmeric and it totally fixed my issue. Maybe I'd try the turmeric. It's not going to work for me. I'll tell you that right now because
it depends on what your issue is. He's got massive inflammation in his knee, I think. Well, that would be a good reason for it to clear up.
My body doesn't process turmeric very well.
Hey, there you go.
But that doesn't so the taking the advice, the asking for the advice, the even considering it, that's not the issue, right? When we're talking about blame and shame. The issue is if I were to say, well, the turmeric didn't work for me, so obviously there's something wrong with me.
Isn't that funny when you say it that way?
It sounds ridiculous, but
it does.
Replace the word turmeric with chiropractic. I'm a huge fan of chiropractic. I've said this a million. I love chiropractic.
Oh yeah.
But doesn't that sound insane?
It does.
Like chiropractic made me feel worse rather than better. So obviously there's something wrong with me that it's not working.
Blaming yourself. It's just not the right modality for you.
Doesn't mean that there isn't something that can be, and quite frankly, maybe it was the type of chiropractic. Maybe you don't know that there's more than one type.
Oh, definitely. There's so many different types. Yeah, so, feel free. If some practitioner makes you uncomfortable, please don't write off the entire practitioner. That's not a word, but like the The entire industry, right? Just because you didn't get along with one chiropractor or one massage therapist or one strength coach, don't write off the whole industry. Find a different person, because we're all different. I've had some really terrible massages in my life, and I've had some truly life-changing massages.
Yes.
You just got to find the right people.
Right. I mean, I'm a snob when it comes to my practitioners, and
as you should be.
But again, it's because I tried a couple different times, but at the same time, I also tried Rolfing.
Oh, how was that?
Horrible.
Oh, not your thing?
Oh my God.
I always wondered what it was.
Horrible. It was horrible. Now, I'm not saying not to try it.
It wasn't your thing. So what is it? What is Rolfing?
Deep tissue massage.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want.
No, that woman bruised the crap out of me. I don't bruise easily.
Oh yeah, I think I still want that.
Every single time. I'm pretty tough. I don't bruise easily. My pain tolerance is really high.
And it was awful.
We got to the point where I couldn't make myself go back because I didn't want her touching me ever again. And it wasn't her fault. You know what I mean? Like, she was doing the job I was asking her to do, and she wasn't mean, and she wasn't trying to hurt me. Like, she backed down because I started crying a couple times. Like, it hurt that bad, but like, no, it's not my jam, you know?
I understand. I tried acupuncture, and I was like, I don't get it. My mom's like, how are your allergies? I'm like, well, they didn't bother me when I came in. I feel fine now. It was weird. Like, he stuck these needles in me and left. What? But dry needling, I will advocate for that all day long. Totally different. Same gauge of needles, but not the same. But it doesn't always work. It really kind of depends on what the issue is, you know? Same with physical therapy. Same with, anything, you know? But it's taking the acknowledging there's an issue, feeling safe enough to speak up about it, which empowers other people. It emboldens other people to speak up about theirs, because the more we normalize this, the less stigma there is. And the more resources we have to share. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you have an injury or some kind of random pain point. Right.
And if you're afraid of, like, if you're not ready, right, to be, obviously we've chosen to be representatives of injury statistics and injury rehab in music.
Right.
That is our life goal. Part of it is to normalize it and get people not afraid. If you're not there, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be an advocate for something that you're not comfortable with, even if it's something that you do, you know. Even if you're not looking to be that,
right?
Just find somebody that you absolutely 100% trust.
Yeah.
And just tell them what's going on. If you haven't told anybody, tell them.
Yeah.
Because when this is a Brene Brown quote, I don't remember which one. You know, she's my girl. Anyway, but she says, when we speak shame, that's her part of the quote. I can't remember how she ends it in exact words, but when we speak shame, we something like eliminate it or take power back from it or heal it.
Yeah, it loses its power over us, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So acknowledging that it's something and talking to somebody about it can get rid of it, can get rid of that factor. And
absolutely.
Then you can start dealing with it. You know,
it's kind of exciting, actually.
It is, you know, and if nothing else, it's not just sitting there eating at you. Right.
Yeah. And that's just something we hear over and over again. And that whole podcast for the whole last week where they talked about it, it was this pervasive theme of, I don't want to tell anybody because then I'll be looked at funny. Then I could lose my career, or maybe they won't call me back. I won't get another gig. So I got to play through. And I think I mentioned this before. It's like, I really think that actually is it ties in really well with lack mindset. When we think that there's only one way for us to make a living as a musician, and and I'm not just saying like you have to play an orchestra. I'm thinking like there's only one way for me to play my flute to make a living and be a legit musician. No. There's so many ways that I haven't even explored yet, that I haven't even tried yet. I mean, I know I like to play in the pit. Heck, I'll do it for free.
Oh, I love pit.
I mean, not often, but I'll do it for free because it's fun, right? I love pit work. I love recording. I absolutely adore fun story time. My dream as a kid, when I was a kid, I thought my best friend and I thought we are going to be the Judds when we grow up. We were obsessed with the country duo, the Judds, which is even funnier because on my 9th birthday, we went to their concert. And on the way out, we found ourselves behind their tour bus. And then they stopped at a gas station. My parents ran me up to the tour bus and were like knocking on the door. Hey, it's our daughter's birthday. Can they? And they went, yeah, come on up. And I got to meet them. So go figure, right? That was cool moment for a kid. But after that, once I learned to play the flute, that whole thing went out the window. I'm like, no, flute is life. This is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And then I discovered, oh wait, there's music in movies, and that really affects people. That was my dream job: play movie music, be a studio musician.
Yep.
That's
what I wanted to.
Right, but there's so many ways to be a studio musician. There's so many things that you could record. Like there's video games, there's commercials, there's movies, there's all kinds soundtrack. I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? What about? We could just go on and on and on. There's so many other ways to be, I don't want to say a legit musician, but to be true to your music authenticity for yourself.
Right.
You don't have to say yes to every quote only legit gig just because someone told you once, and you have to take care of yourself. And if your body's telling you something's wrong, pain is a signal something's wrong.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is listen to it, not blame ourselves. You don't have to judge yourself because it hurts.
Yeah.
Just look at it with an air of curiosity and be like, oh, what's it trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Let's go figure it out.
Your body's not trying to tell you, oh, you're messed up and there's something wrong with you. And
your body doesn't judge you.
No, your body's just going, hey, something isn't right. Can we do something about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something's not right. And I'm just going to let you know about this. And
then it's up to us to take that information and do something with it. Doesn't mean you have to get it right on the first try, but it is up to you to do something about it. Ignoring pain just means the signal gets louder until you break. And then, quote, everybody knows.
Right.
Well, there's no reason to hide it in the first place. I mean, we understand the reasons why we are hiding it, but we got to stop that. Like, let's all just commit to talking about it.
Right. But if you really are concerned about being found out, oh man, you better deal with it sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? That's ignoring it and just, oh, well, I'll just do this and it's fine. Or, well, I feel better when I do this, but I only kind of ever get this much better. Or figure it out. And I know that we talked about it a couple episodes ago where it was, I said literally, no one's coming to save you. You got
self-advocacy.
And it sucks when you're in that position because you're going, man, I just can't, and I can't know all of this stuff.
Right.
Depending on how severe it is, you might have to learn a lot more than you think.
But you know what? I think it's up to us to also do better.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of why we do this podcast, right?
Right. But I mean, like as teachers, if you're a teacher, if you're a colleague, it's up to us to do better, be better. Like Veronica said, huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Veronica said, well, when I got injured, I should have known better. Huh? Right. No. Why would you? Yeah, you should have known better than to get the flu. Like replace it with anything else. It's a crazy statement, right? But we all, how many of us, when I said that, went, yeah, I thought that, and okay. It's up to all of us to do better and to educate ourselves as much as possible so we can help everybody else.
Right. Because I mean, similar note too, we look at athletes. Well, that person should have known better than to tweak their knee.
You're right. Okay.
In the middle of a game.
In the middle of a game. Yeah, so you should know better.
We should know better than to overuse our index finger in the middle of a concert.
How dare you get tendonitis and can't hold your clarinet? How dare you? Don't you know better?
Right. Like, and don't get me wrong. I've done some stuff in the gym that I'm like, oh yeah, that was dumb. I knew better than to do.
Oh, sure.
But that's different. And maybe you make that deal with yourself where you're like, okay, I have this gig. I know that I'm going to over practice just to make the gig because I already accepted it and I can't sub it out. Okay. Just understand what that deal is. That deal is you get through that gig, you're probably going to get hurt. You're going to have to recover. You don't get to accept the next 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 or 1, depending on when, like,
Yeah.
if it's a minor thing, okay, so I'm off for a couple of weeks. Fine.
Yeah.
If it's a major but be prepared, be aware that that's the deal that you're making with yourself. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that that's the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a student ask me this a couple weeks back. It might have been a month ago. It was, well, you're saying that we can't live like this, but I mean that's what we do for the overworking thing, the long hours. I was talking about how, structurally speaking, if you are performing for 2 to 4 hours at a time, you are going to have physical competence. Like, you can't be at your tip top performance level for 2 to 4 hours at a time. You can't. And the question, well, but I see people doing that all the time. And I see people, like, they're living in these states all the time. I'm like, okay. Number one, it's never going to be your best performance if it's that long. It's not going to. You can't.
No.
Number 2, what's the trade-off?
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost? You are taxing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost? If you are okay with what you're going to have to pay back, like, okay, well, I'm working this show and I'm only going to sleep 5 hours a night for the next 2 weeks.
Or I'm not going to get dinner, or I'm not going to be able to go out with friends, or my family's not going to see me, or.
Right. What's the cost? Are you willing to accept it? Okay. The problem comes in if you accept that cost and then don't pay it back.
We will pay it back at some point.
You'll pay it back eventually, but you want to get it paid back before there's interest.
Yeah, you really don't want that kind of debt.
You don't want that.
You really don't.
No. So
true story.
I feel like we've talked around a lot of subjects here. We were talking about, I should have known better. Okay. Again, I should have known better because I knew I was going to only sleep 4 hours a night. Like,
okay.
Yeah, but again, you agreed to do that.
Okay, hold on. When she was talking about, I should have known better, hers was an overuse injury. My first overuse injury was tendonitis. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I should have known better. And thankfully I didn't blame myself, but I didn't know what was going on and I got no help for it.
Right.
When we're talking about overuse injuries, hopefully whether it's carpal tunnel or tendonitis or thoracic outlet or nerve entrapment or whatever, why should you know better? Who has given you tools to know better? Right. How would you know what overuse looks like? Do you know what to do to prevent it? Mm-hmm. So many times we don't know what to do to prevent it and we have no tools. So why would we know better, but we still are blamed or blame ourselves? Right.
Well, here's the other element to that. If you have never had an overuse injury and then you develop one and your instinct is, I should have known better. You had 0 data on your body's limits.
Nope.
Goose egg. None. Yeah. Like, we learn through failure and for some reason we forget that. Like, and so many of the best performers out there are like, no, if you want to sound great on stage, you need to sound ugly in the practice room.
That's my favorite. I was telling that to a student this week.
I love that.
I hate doing it.
I know, but when I actually heard that and like comprehended what was being said, oh, my practice quality went through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So afraid to do anything wrong. And I was like, no, I need to do it wrong. Yeah, that's
I want you to find all the ways to do it wrong.
Yes.
Is that the best you got? Come on, give me some ugly things. Is this the ugliest you can play? Oh, I throw this at my students all the time. I'm like, I dare you to overblow that. Oh, come on, make it. Come on, really? Here, this is how you make it ugly. And I make a really ugly sound. And they're like, oh, I'm like, come on, let me see what you got. Right. Because they're, flute players too. It's a pretty shiny instrument. I want it to be so pretty all the time. You got to know if your box is like this big, you have no idea where the walls of how far you can spread that box. And if you don't let mistakes happen,
Mhm.
Well, guess when they show up? Performance day.
Yes.
So you can't ignore
Or-
mistakes and you can't ignore
or-
pain. They show up at the worst times.
Or you just never hit your capacity.
That too.
Like you just sound like a robot all the time because you
Mhm.
never really pushed your limits.
Yep.
Like bad sounds and discomfort. That's us pushing our limits and knowing more about ourselves.
Mhm.
The problem is if you let it progress to pain, or because sometimes the pain just it's there. It's
Yeah.
very subtle. If you end up in that situation and you don't deal with it.
You know what I think part of the key of dealing with this properly is, or usefully is again, we come back to the same thing like with focal dystonia. It's approaching this with a sense of curiosity.
Yes.
Just take the judgment out. There's
Yeah.
nothing to judge.
No,
When
you're just learning your body. You're
your
learning
body, your
yourself.
sound, your abilities.
Mhm.
What can I do? How does it
Right.
sound if I do this? Oh,
Mhm.
that hurts. What did I do?
Mhm.
Huh. Well, does it hurt when I do this? But
Yeah.
take the judgment out.
Right. Well, and we do, most of us to some extent, when we're working with, to kind of wrap that back around to instructors. I have something else there too, but most of the time, if you get past a very basic level, once you start really working with somebody one-on-one,
Yeah.
most people I know feel like that person is, like, we call them mentors for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not, we call them mentors because it's not just, oh, my teacher. They're not just teaching us the instrument. It's, there's a little bit of like one-on-one.
life in there.
I don't want to call it therapy because that's not the right word, but you know, that person ends up knowing a lot about you and getting you to learn more about yourself so that you can be a better performer. Like, and we don't think twice about that,
Mm-mm.
you know, but they're trying, a good instructor is trying to lead you to ask questions about yourself, to try new things, to experiment. We don't think twice about that. But we always question, like, well, what do you mean I have to know my own body? And what do you mean I should explore that? And like, what can you feel? Because there are going to be gaps. There are going to be things that you cannot feel. That's just the human state.
Yeah. Yeah.
we only develop what we use.
Mm-hmm.
So, and back to your point again, I'm going to jump one more time. You were saying, you know, it's on us as instructors and mentors to be on top of, number one, the conversation,
Mhm.
and number two, the information. Yeah, first off, if you're looking to be a good instructor, I would say no matter what, no matter if injury is your thing or not, be prepared to communicate. Be prepared to have open conversations with your students. That helps immensely.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you. I'm happy to hear the number of people who are instructors, especially the ones in higher level positions, who are now coming to me going, what do I tell this student?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, they're asking me questions. I don't have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's an improvement over when I started, at which point it was, I don't know.
Yep.
Not everybody, mind you, but there were a lot of people out. I don't know.
I don't know.
Go talk
to a doctor. What kind of doctor? I don't know.
Go see your doctor. I still, huge advocate for, please go get checked out. We need to make sure everything is structurally okay. Beyond that, start referring them to people that have either been through it or who actually work in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're out there. Not just, oh, go talk to your doctor. Bless them, doctors have a lot of self-protection to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it so many times where even when it's clear, simple medical issues that I've been through, very obvious, very straightforward, no gray area, they don't want to touch me because they might make it worse. And then I might sue them. And I'm like, because I'm a nerd and because I've been through too much, I looked this up myself. I know what the protocols are. I know what the side effects are. Just no, we're gonna just wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's on us as educators, but also colleagues. And I'll be honest, as a shameless self plug for my commercial, which y'all are going to hear at the end of this probably, or the beginning, whatever, for the pilot program that I came up with called Job Security. The reason I'm calling it that is because it all ties in exactly to this. We don't know what we don't know, whether that's body awareness or when something hurts, who to go see. Mm-hmm. You know, it's on all of us to help each other. We can't just be expected to know what all the different types of injuries are, what the symptoms are, what they look like, or what our options are. But the more we talk about it, the more you get all these other information, you know, but if we don't talk, we don't get that either. Right. So like, that's the whole step one of my, like, I've got a 3-pronged program that just basically gets you out of pain. It increases your strength and endurance, but it also teaches you how to identify what the problems are, gives you some solutions that you can help other people with. And this is how you stop this program, this process, right? The problem from happening, but we all have to be proactive in it. That's a lot of P's. We have to be proactive in the process, stopping the problem in the program. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, that's what I mean. It's on all of us.
Yeah. Yep. It's on the individual who's having the problem. It's on the instructor. It's on, I mean, you know, we're some of the most networking people that I know.
Right?
You know, you have most likely, if you're sitting here going, well, I don't know who else to talk to, I'll be, unless, I mean, you're watching this, so, you know, you could talk to us. But if you're at that, oh, I don't know who else I could talk to, chances are, you know, somebody.
You probably do.
You probably know somebody who doesn't just do.
I bet you have a bandmate or a section mate or another musician that you hang out with that you think you couldn't talk to, but you probably could. And as soon as you do, they go, oh, you know what? Me too. Yeah, I had this blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big, scary conversation.
Nope.
Hey, have you ever had that happen? Who'd you go see?
Right.
You can just start out that easy.
Could be as simple as if you know somebody goes and gets massages and they really like it. Who do you use?
Yep. Start the conversation, guys. Take the judgment out. Mm-hmm. Judgment has no place when it comes to our bodies. Mm-hmm. It doesn't.
Right.
I mean, we judge ourselves enough when it comes to music. Heck, we judge each other, whether it's an audition or on stage. You know, like we have so much judgment. Take the judgment out when it comes to your body and just be curious around, well, what's the pain signal that I'm getting? When does it happen? Right. What does it feel like? How does it? Wonder if I could do a little research and see what that might mean. Please don't WebMD it, but you know what I mean? Like,
start
asking.
Yeah.
Nip it in the butt.
Because unless you are actively, intentionally hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the intention of hurting yourself.
Right.
It's really most likely not your fault.
Yeah.
Almost, I'd say 99% chance, not your fault.
And the good news is, even if you're pretty far gone, like I'm thinking about this violin. I was at the violin shop a little while back, and the owner was telling me about this high-level player who, when I was telling him what I do, he goes, yeah, you know, I've got this, I can't tell you his name, but this high-level fiddle player is thinking about hanging up his bow because he hurts all the time and he just can't play anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number one, please don't let it get to that point because there are options. And this is how we, like, not to beat a dead horse, but there are a lot of really awful animal like metaphors in this. I'm sorry. But not just that, but most of the time, it doesn't matter how far gone you think you are.
Right.
A lot of these overuse injuries can be rehabbed. And you don't have to stop your career unless you want to. Like you have options. You can go backwards down this path. It's not a point of no return.
Right.
Soft tissue is soft for a reason.
Right. It's rarely a permanent thing. It's more, what are you willing to invest to come back? As a person, not financially, as a person. What are you willing to invest in yourself? It doesn't make you wrong if you don't want to do it, and that doesn't make you wrong for having to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a choice. And yeah, that's just the human state.
Yep. I think that's a good point before we start Going round and round again.
Yeah, no,
We
I
didn't-
think we're good.
We didn't pause for a commercial, but I think that's because we didn't stop talking.
Right.
There was no good point. So hopefully you're going to hear my commercial because join my pilot program. Now, shameless plug here. So it goes full price at the end of the year. So this is 2020. Oh my gosh. Might be full price by the time you get this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly why I designed that program. Because I got so tired. I was thinking like, what are like the big three things that musicians deal with that we don't, we have like a lack of stamina, we get injured, and we're just basically clueless because either we don't know who to see when something happens, or we don't know what's going on. We have lack of body awareness.
Right.
There's so much. It's like, I can address that. And let's stop this.
Yeah.
So that's how I got that going. This has been a fun conversation. Next week, we're actually going to talk about strength training, I think, how it ties in.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting to hear your lead into that. So we'll save that for next time. But
gotta stay tuned for next week. It's been a good one. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Hey musicians, did you know that up to 90% of musicians will experience playing related pain or injury over the course of their career? How many hushed conversations have you heard about a lingering, quote, shoulder pain or a weird tingling in your fingers? Or maybe low back pain or a crampy weakness, or maybe you or your colleague just says, I just have to get through the gig. And you watch them pop Advil like candy, maybe flush it down with whiskey. How many times have we seen something like this? So many, right? Well, it's time we start talking about our struggles, our pain, our frustrations in a private space where we don't just complain and mobilize and blindly stretch, but we learn how to strengthen our muscles, our career successes, and build each other up. I've got a brand new program that combines all of these things, and I want you to be a part of it. It's a community, not a workout. It's a community with group coaching and great content that in 12 weeks will have you understanding more about your body, what you need, and how you work so you can avoid that career-threatening injury. The three things that musicians don't want. We don't want to be injured. We don't want to have a lack of stamina. And we don't want to be clueless. AKA, when you hurt, who do you go see? Just a quote doctor? Well, this program addresses all of those things. You're going to walk away with an immense knowledge of who to see. You're going to be empowered because you're going to know what to do should you ever get injured, or should you have a colleague that gets injured. You will be able to actually offer appropriate advice. You're also going to learn about the body and the anatomy as it relates to playing your instrument and your own anatomy. And then you're going to learn how to build not just your strength and endurance, but you're going to learn how to design your own corrective exercise program. So I hope you will join me in this new program. It's called the Music Strong Pilot Program, Job Security for Musicians.